hating. Okay. You only have like 50 jobs while you're here. The mics are hot. No, Dave, you're hot. That's weird. Cool. Well, thank you, Quantal.
Appreciate it.
For being here. As we were just saying, as I was just saying, well, you were also saying you look good all the time, and people are constantly saying that. Just people on the street are just stopping you to tell you that you look good.
Yeah, I have some random, like, hey, you're a beautiful person, and thank you.
You should keep getting that for the rest of your life, probably. It helps the self-esteem.
It does. I do talk to myself a lot, though, too.
You tell yourself that you look good, you mean?
Hey, yeah, I mean, feeling good, feeling strong, feeling creative. I feel smart.
You do. That's awesome. You should. You sound smart.
Yeah.
You sound and you are. So someone's told me before, you sound you're smarter than you look. And I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to say, but I don't like people telling me that I sound or I am smarter than I look.
Yeah. I feel smart until my wife questions me on something. And then I'm like, I don't understand. No.
Yeah, exactly. I was picking yesterday with Reese a little bit, and I was like, I really appreciate y'all's friendship. I really appreciate you guys hanging around and putting up with me. And I feel true value in hanging out with you guys. And she goes, no, you just keep us around so you can share your ideas with someone. And I thought to myself, should I be offended right now, or should I take that as a compliment in that they're just still here?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. That's the. But are you here because you're my friend, or am I just keeping you here because I want to hear something that maybe I'm trying to tell myself? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's something I think you just brought up a pretty good point. That's something that I tell a lot of my athletes after wrestling practice. I'll speak to them for about 10 minutes, and a lot of times I tell them, like, look, I'm just telling you what you need to hear. I was like, it's not really coming from me, it's coming through me. And the things that you probably need to hear, it just, like I said, I'm just here to sort of reaffirm what you already know. That's all I'm doing. So
a daily affirmation or reaffirmation of what we already know is sometimes really pivotal in our day.
Yeah.
We can get down on ourselves in a moment.
Oh yeah.
Just a second. And that could change our attitude and the way that we work for a few hours or a few minutes if we let it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it turns into a domino effect, for sure.
You talk a lot about this kind of stuff, and I appreciate it, actually. I tell Reese sometimes, and I think I've told you, the style of podcasting or the style of being on camera, if you will, daily and talking to people. What category of, podcasting would you put that in?
Wow. I don't know.
Inspiration.
I would say inspiration. I tell people, it's like a creative lifestyle podcast, but I don't know. A lot of times it's more like mindset and inspiration. Than anything else. Like I said, I've always seen myself as more of a connector, and I love connecting different experiences, different things that's happened in my life or that I'm experiencing now, and I try to connect it to people in a way that makes sense for them. And I think that's what I try to do as a coach. That's what I try to do as a, even when I'm working with clients, is figuring out how do I connect concepts and ideals and make it to where it's able to be read or be seen by a specific audience.
Sure. That brings that you're talking about is what brings real value in a consultant to another, to their clients, in my humble opinion, because I'm also a consultant in a different capacity, financial strategy guidance, hard stuff, if you will, that companies are going through. And I think why I keep getting gigs is because I do take into account start to finish value stream understanding and can bring context from other ideas, other areas of their business that they may not, sometimes clients are looking at the topic or the project face on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to come at it from another angle, just like as you were referencing in your martial arts students. Mm-hmm. They already know to be thinking proximity, but sometimes it just needs to be a reminder during the day at one point that we're focused here, but there's another way of looking at it. You already know about it. It's just a nice daily reminder.
Yeah. Man, and that's something I tell them, I was like, I wouldn't be saying these things if I wasn't experiencing it myself.
Sure.
I'm not going to tell you something that I'm not, that it's not hitting me on some aspect or some perspective or anything like that. So it's one of those where I definitely have to remind myself, I told myself this week, I had a couple of negative thoughts that popped up. And as much as I do want to give out, motivation and inspiration and all kinds of tips and things like that, I have my down moments too. A couple of times where, it's like, didn't feel like I was good enough, or, didn't feel like, maybe being a little bit impatient as far as certain things that I thought would come up opportunity-wise sort of fell through. You just have to do certain things to sort of reset that thinking and sort of reset yourself in any kind of given moment. So
we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
The wisdom to share with others in a coach or a leadership position is the fact that we've been through those hard times, right? We become the grasshopper. We are the teacher and the student,
Yeah.
I love that you're so involved, dude, because you're doing a podcast regularly. You're working with clients every day, all day.
Yeah.
You're always in the gym. Every time I talk to you, you're wrestling, rolling or coaching. And then you're also this graphic designer that blows my mind. So I was talking to Reese the other day. We genuinely, and I want you to know that this comes from my heart, I've never felt this about another human being. We think that you actually are a superhero. We think that you're a ninja, basically, right? And you are highly involved in the fantasy character. What is the world of, what is the thing that they used to have down in San Diego all the time? What do they call it?
Oh,
Comic-Con.
Like Comic-Con, yeah.
Comic-Con. Yeah, but that's comics, right? But the fantasy character and the Comic-Con, but these are like human created gods, just like every other god, right?
Yeah.
There's no, how do I say this in some pseudo-intelligent way? There's no difference, I should be very careful, in the godlike comic characters that are created by humans and the actual gods that were created by humans. And I don't want to degrade Jesus Christ and God and Christianity, but it's conceptually speaking, these are people that we've created, figures, if you will. I guess I need to be careful if I publish that because I could get slapped around pretty good. I hope I'm not offending you. It's just an observation.
No, I'm very open-minded to all perspectives.
So it's just an observation. And what I find absolutely incredible about the superheroes of the world is they're built on character elements. They have human character and essence of them, feelings.
Yeah.
In most cases, if you will, unless they're a robot or something.
Yeah.
And even then, the robot ones have character, and that's what makes them so awesome.
Yeah.
Is that they have human personas.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool. What is it about people, humans, that get them so excited about dressing up like fantasy characters or becoming a fantasy character or creating them? What is it?
There's probably a lot of answers to that. But I think, honestly, I think people aspire to be something more. I think that, when people, perform cosplay or they admire certain characters, it's I've always seen it that people admire others that I'm trying to figure out a way to put it. That pretty much they feel like there's something that connects with them just a little bit for that character, that fantasy character or whoever, to relate to that person that they aspire towards.
My name's Logan. Wolverine's name's Logan.
Yeah.
Something very directly that proves your point.
Yeah.
I've been considered Wolverine my whole life. I don't look anything like him. I'm not a superhero.
Yeah.
However, I'm a tall white guy, whatever, with a scruffy face, you know what I mean? But other than that, I look nothing like Hugh Jackman. However, my name's Logan, so I can relate. And therefore, my entire life, I sort of envisioned myself, if there was a superhero, I would be Logan.
Yeah.
Obviously, but there are other character traits like what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you're referring to. We something about that character resonates with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think everybody has that one specific character. It's, you got some some people that love Spider-Man, some people love Batman, some people love the Punisher, some people
And
love
your
Superman.
guy?
And
Who's your guy? Or gal? I'm sorry.
No, I tell a lot of people my guy is Captain America. That's someone I've loved since I was little.
You are Captain America, dude.
And yeah, that's something that I think just growing up, I've always read comics since I was little, and I think it was just something that, you know, even, you know, getting into sports and working out, like I wanted to, like, even drawing, like I always wanted to be like a superhero. I mean, that was what I wanted to be. So yeah, I think in a lot of aspects, those things, those qualities that maybe I see in Captain America, you know, I see in myself, you know, maybe being you know, becoming a leader, you know, doing, you know, having a high standard, you know, for themselves, and being empathetic towards the people that's around him. I think those are qualities that I think I see in myself. Obviously, I'm never gonna be Captain America, but
dude, I see those qualities in you, and you're a freaking badass, and you're like super strong. Are you kidding me? You could definitely be Captain America. Reese and I talk about this at least once a week. We're like, you'll come in and record a session, and I'm like, babe, Quantal was in today, and I started to think this guy could tear me into a million pieces, and probably everybody else on this block. Like he's a superhero. He's like Captain America, but he's also the best dude I know. You're just a good human.
Appreciate it, and like I said, and that's something that I try to tell. I'm always sure to reiterate to my class, to the people that I train. I was like, look, I don't care per se. You know, I want you to do great. You know, if you happen to become a professional fighter, and you know you happen to win championships, that's awesome. Love it. But I just want you to be a good human.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to you know, admit and represent certain standards that you have for yourself, and you know, for society, for this planet. And just be a good human.
Be able to be capable of protecting you and your family,
yep.
Your liberty, their liberty, your friend's liberty, your
yep.
family, right?
Yep.
To be strong and confident and capable and smart,
yeah,
and respectful. Those are,
yeah.
Come on, right?
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that you can't find that in the majority, but for me, when I do find that in someone, holy cow. It's something that I hold to a really high respect.
That's come from my family. That's come from my wife. You know, my grandfather was a huge guidance system for me in my life. And honestly, he was a janitor. You know, he was in high school, elementary school janitor. And there was a lot of little things when I was little that I learned from him, from just a respect value. You know, there's a lot of people in you know, in my hometown, in Cleveland, Tennessee, that respected him, and he was a janitor. So those things, I felt like, okay, you know, respect can be given and earned from any capacity. You have to be willing to do that. You know, I think some people feel like, well, I'm at a such and such, you know, level, or I'm at this, you know, success, you know, specific point in my life, and I'm successful or whatnot. I deserve respect. No, you don't. I've got a kids practice that I run, and a lot of times I talk to them. I give them 100% respect. You know, I ask them how their day is. Some of them come up, give me hugs. You know, I respect them for who they are, and you know, I'm not, you know, screaming at them to do such and such because, hey, look, I'm the coach. No, I want to be able to earn your respect. So whenever I say something, I know that it's going to resonate. I know that you understand. I'm like, hey, okay, let me listen to them.
And be able to articulate what it is that they're feeling or
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
in a situation that's challenging, which is what's great about martial arts. You're constantly in a growth and developmental process, and therefore almost every session should be challenging, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it should affect you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult for young people to manage that.
I mean, I think a lot of people, I mean, specifically this generation, you know, a lot of them just, they feel misunderstood. You know, they feel like they're not being heard. They feel like maybe their parents don't understand them, and they might be right from my capacity, you know. And I'm very fortunate to be able to, you know, come in and help adults and kids on their journey, and you know, fitness wise, competition wise, as well as just being a good person. But you know, it's just one of those where I want to be able to connect and relate to them, and feel like they can come up and talk to me after practice, which a lot of them do. I'm very surprised that the adult class, more importantly, because a lot of them, I may say something and it hits them on a certain note, and a lot of them come back. They'll come after practice and they'll talk to me for extra 10 minutes or so. I'm like, hey, I'm glad you said this, because this is this was bothering me. So yeah, I've had some stories, just even with the kids, being able to. It was sort of neat. As a matter of fact, Wednesday, because I had the adults going through it was pretty rough practice. What I think what surprised me and what I was more focused on was not necessarily the adults, like they were really getting after it, but it was the kids that was watching. That was in my kids' practice earlier. They were watching the adults. So I told them, I was like, look, you need to. I don't care how tired you are, keep going, because these kids are watching you, and they're gonna watch. They're gonna pretty much emulate and model what they see. And so with them, with those kids seeing that, they know what the standard is, what a model is, as far as what they need to do in order to be at a certain level. And for them to be able to see that, that was what I saw Wednesday was awesome. And so when I told my adult practice afterwards, I was like, look, I was like, you don't understand who you're impacting right now.
Our behavior, the way that we talk through challenges and manage things, they're sharp. They're picking it up, and sometimes feel misunderstood. And so they're using all the data points that they see throughout the day that they look up to and say, well, that's okay. That's the kind of behavior that gets things done.
Yeah.
Or, gets them what they need or what they want. A logical thought process with discipline integrated and respect for each other is priceless, man.
Yeah.
Priceless, dude.
Yeah.
And we were talking about connecting before that, and that's kind of how we got onto this topic, right? Is you see yourself as a connector between people, and then you had mentioned, I think, your grandfather, right? Mm-hmm. Who was a janitor, but he was respected in the community because I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he was also probably a connector.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And connectors that have logical, respectful understanding, presence that those folks carry around with them is immeasurable. Again, it's priceless in my mind, right? Because the lives of the many that they impact throughout their journey is clearly you're one of them, and now sharing your journey and the essence of being a connector and using that in a very, very positive way, very creative, which is even more beautiful, right? A creative and positive way.
Yeah.
Which, man, we need that. We need that.
It's weird. It's one of those where it's, I hear things about learning how to, you can only, connect the dots, looking back. And it's one of those where looking back now, I see all the little things, good or bad, that's happened to me in my life. And it's sort of come to the culmination of where it is now. I still talk to one of my good friends and my coach, my high school coach, real great friends. I actually consider him like a brother to me. But he was talking to me, and he listened to one of my podcasts, and he was like, I never knew you had that voice in you. And it's one of those where like I had it, but trying to formulate it and figure out who I am, there's really no timetable on when that even happens. I saw myself as a leader in high school, but for me to sort of formulate certain ideals and concepts, it's not even happening until 20-something years later.
My dude.
Yes.
I'm just now getting confidence in my true ability. Just now. And I'm 39. I had an idea in my late 20s, early 30s. And I was just then starting to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
Like you're saying.
Yeah.
Of what you're really capable of.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, this is one of those
change your life.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why I want to be able to, stay healthy, and I want to be able to have the energy and have my health, because I see myself doing more things in the next 20 years. And I want to be able to have the health to be able to run around and be able to still roll around, still play with my grandkids, still be able to be active with my wife, and, just all kinds of things. I feel like I have the capacity to do that. I mean, I feel good. I said I'm 39 too. And They say we got two ages. We have a chronological age, and then we have a biological age. And chronologically, yes, I'm 39. Biologically, I probably feel like I'm about 34.
That's awesome.
So
you're touching on a topic of time, right?
Yeah.
Age, chronological, biological, start to finish, and then something happens in between.
Yeah.
The concept of time is, I'm gonna say the word, relative.
Yes.
And my friend over here, Dave, we were sitting on the back patio, beating on his old guitar and just chit-chatting in the yard. And he said, people came up with the concept of time. But if you take time away and just know that the sun comes up and the sun goes down and the evolution of the earth happens, and you don't think about the number of minutes and seconds or hours in a day.
Yeah.
I just started to think about that really heavily, and it started to blow my tiny little brain. Not gonna lie. What would my day? I wouldn't know if I was in time for my meetings or not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that would be cool, because then I wouldn't have to worry about my meetings. I mean, I don't even know what angle to approach the thought of not having a concept of time. I don't even know where to approach it.
Yeah, that's a loaded subject, because
Right?
it's all kinds of, I read on this stuff all the time. I do it specifically, for my book, but yeah, I'm always thinking about concepts as far as with time and quantum mechanics and things like that. But even with time, yeah, it's a constructed measurement to tell us we're going from point A to point B. It's almost, you can almost think of it as a movie reel. You have X amount of frames in that movie reel, which is what we're doing right now. If you stopped it, we're pretty much in one eternal present right now. If we took out all the clocks and everything else, yes, we still have internally, we still have that measurement of, things are sort of flowing and moving, but for us to sort of measure it in our brains, we need something to escapulate it and be able to rationalize.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a certain time, because
only when it's necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we've been sitting here talking. I have no idea. I mean, I could guess 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know. That's a 50% windage gauge.
Yeah,
I could be off.
Yeah, and it's all relative. It's one of those where I could feel like, oh my Lord, this could be like my first podcast interview and be like, oh, I'm scared to death.
It's been an hour.
It's feeling like forever, and It's been like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could be feeling awesome, and an hour passed and be like, man, was that it?
Right.
And so I think it's like I said, time. Our experience of time is relative to the perceiver.
And that's what that's the point I'm trying to make, is our experience,
yeah,
in my opinion, is relative to time measurement.
Yes.
And we're creating all these, okay, I won't go into that, but we're creating all these requirements for measuring time.
Yeah.
And the experiences throughout the day are on our calendar.
Yeah.
So meetings are just another experience in the day.
Yeah.
Our lunch, I have to put that on my calendar. My yoga session, I put that on the calendar.
Yeah.
Those are our experiences, meditation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Right? Rolling with your buddies or your students. You've got to understand a timetable. Gotta, in the modern world. Yeah. And even you look at the tribes that live on islands, that they have to have a concept at least of seasons and day and night in order to keep the crops healthy and understand when to expect fish. Their agriculture. I'm going to lump fish and shrimp and all that into agriculture. So they have to understand the flow and the process of space and time in order to continue survival.
You just brought up a great point. This is something that, like I said, we could go down the rabbit hole a little bit. But
let's do.
There is a, if you ever get a chance, there is there's always all kinds of writings. And if you go back to some of a lot of the ancient texts, even you talk about like the emerald tablets and like a lot of esocentric writings. They talk about the way we view time compared to, let's just throw out a hypothesis. Let's just say that we have, and this is something that this is one of the theories I'm sort of playing around with my book, but
well, don't give it away.
I'm not going to give too much away.
Okay.
But like I said, what if you do have other dimensional beings, entities, roaming around, sort of coming back and forth? How they view time is going to be relatively different from how we see it. Even in a lot of ancient texts, they talk about, time, it's not linear. They see it in cycles. So if you look at the Mayan calendar, you see a lot of the Native American shamans and things like that. A lot of it they view time in cycles, not just point A to point B. So there's all kinds of varying loops and cycles that correspond to how the sun goes up and down, how the moon rotates. Our experience of time is based off of certain cycles and not anything being considered, really point A to point B linear. So it's just one of those where when we start thinking about that, even when they talk about, I'll give you another example. This is actually from a book called The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle. And he talked about the eternal present, but he talked about people being in reality loops. When, for example, say you're in a toxic relationship and there's certain things that come up 2 or 3 times in your relationship and you get triggered by it, you're putting your body, you're actually experiencing a reality loop. This same thing has happened to you 3 or 4 times, and you hadn't decided to break away from that.
Sure.
Just a small little example, but even when people talk about deja vu and all kinds of things like that, and seeing certain things before, honestly, you may have. Honestly, if we want to dive deeper, maybe it was another version of you that's seen it.
Yeah.
So and those little things I'm playing around with in the book.
What you just said over the last minute has kind of blown my mind because it started making me think about the concept of time in a different way already.
Yeah.
Because we paralleled a few topics and mushed them together in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This was awesome. So I'm going to throw something out there because it's just on the top of my mind and it might sound crazy. It's going to sound crazy. What if the concept of time, as you said, not linear, in some pretty pivotal literature and teachings and understanding of time and space and time, right? And now we're seeing it as the dials and the numbers on a clock.
Yeah.
Or how long I have to get from point A to point B, linear, if you will. Maybe because we are so consumed with ourself and our personal understanding of how long it takes to get to point A to point B, or to optimize business process or our own personal efficiency and effectiveness. Time and time again, as a human, we're always trying to improve, always trying to grow, improve, grow, do it faster, do more, make more money, et cetera, right? Since, well, that's a whole nother conversation when that came into play, right? We could blame it on Henry Ford. We could blame it on a lot of things, but I think it's a snowball or the domino effect, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
But what if you're absolutely right, and these old teachings and this old language is absolutely right, and that we're so consumed in ourselves right now, right here, and the day-to-day, how can we make more time for ourselves to get away from time, conceptually speaking, to get into a moment like this where we're talking and we're in the mix and we lose the concept of time. That's the real reward of life, if you will, and allow the cycle that's so much bigger than us, that cycle or the phase. What were you referring to it as?
Cycles.
A cycle. So maybe that cycle, which is way bigger than us because it's exponential at that point. A cycle is not in our control. We cannot. We can manage it or manage our own behaviors associated with the environmental elements of cycles, right? Conversation is a cycle. There's a start and there's an end, but maybe there's that concept of the enzo where it's a constant state of enlightenment, if you will, right? So maybe these concepts are really the reality of it, but we've implemented our own efficiency KPIs and measures called calendars and timetables, et cetera, right? Clocks, the stuff we've got to quote unquote refer to, right? And I think we do, in order to manage the system that manages the people and do it in a healthy, try to do it in the healthiest possible way. We're hopefully working more towards that. Totally, again, another topic. I'm getting a little off topic. But what I'm trying to say is that I think that what you just enlightened me of is that the concept of time that we have in place now, in principle, is selfish, because it's all about us or the things that we create or the people. But the cycle of the experiential cycle that we're in, if you take a step back and just live it and be it in the present, man, that's a way cooler place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way cooler.
Oh yeah. I mean, we barely scratched the surface. Now, I'm not going to say I'm no astrophysicist or anything like that. I think once I'm never going to figure it out, but once I can figure out the concept and then figure out a way to sort of implement it within myself, to know that, we're the ones that's, pretty much trying to put a label and put a container down on everything, on our time, on our, commitments, on, hey, we have to be here at a specific time, or, we're running 10 minutes late. Who's to say you're 10 minutes early?
We're creating a new experience for the people by showing up a little late when we get there.
We're the ones that's sort of dictating, what's late or what's early, based off of a general consensus of, hey, this is, everybody's abiding by this clock. It's just, it's weird. I mean, it's a weird concept. If you're even playing around with the concept of time, even when people go back to, we can hear a piece of music or smell something, and it brings us back. And you can relive that memory or that image like it was yesterday. That's outside of our concept of time. That's when you start getting into other planes of existence and dimensions, where time is out the window. Our concept of time is out the window. It's just one eternal present.
Totally. We touched on this conversation briefly in our last conversation in here, kind of in the mix about sleep state, right? We were talking about space and time is no longer relative whenever you're unconscious.
Yeah.
Or in your subconscious.
Yeah.
What a cool topic. And this is something that you study. That's very cool. Oh, actually, can I read something? I have like a nerd, I have this book. I was talking, thank you, Dave, by the way, for bringing this book in. So, abiding in the no-mindedness of great origin. So this is, check it out, dude. This is Bruce Lee's book.
Oh, I love that book.
Have you read it? Yeah. I haven't read it yet. So Dave dropped it off, and we were talking about, there's a poem in the beginning that starts to talk about the soul being absolutely free from thoughts and emotion. Even the tiger finds no room. So they're referring to animals. They refer to nature. They being, in my humble opinion, the greats of understanding humanity, understanding the essence, not only humanity, but they're humans. So that's the thought process they're bringing to the table. That's what I mean. Yeah. But life really is what it's about. I misspoke in saying humanity, but they're talking about life, and they're using references to space, time, animals, nature, the ocean, the earth, right? Yeah. In principle.
Yeah.
To guide us through lessons. In my humble opinion, that's a connectivity to something so much greater than we are now.
Yeah.
Through Instagram, the internet, the World Wide Web, which was a way to communicate and connect data. And now we're connecting data, and it's become us, sort of. Very much so.
Yeah.
Particularly for the majority of the people in the world. There are a few that step away from that and refuse to participate. I know those people very well. You've met him, Stuart Champion, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't do social media at all. He's so zen, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. Like, he's the zenest dude I've met. It's kind of incredible. But anyway, so he's connected to the elemental pieces of who he is, centrally speaking, inside, and the earth and stuff. And I'm starting to learn a lot more about that, because he's not managing 3-4 businesses either, right? Not to say that it's good or bad, but I'm just saying it's when you're not managing 4 businesses in this common in this world today, it requires social media, it requires all this stuff, and you get sucked in somehow.
Yeah.
So you got to find space to reconnect. And I think the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're talking about space and time and the essence of who we are relative to space and time and our experiences, right?
Yeah.
And as I was reading this, just whenever I came in, it was really interesting because I was thinking I was going to learn some great lesson, you know, that I was going to ask you about in here. But actually, what he's talking about and I'll read the next one. One and the same breeze passes over the pines on the mountain and the oak trees in the valley. And why do they give different notes? ? No thinking, no reflecting, perfect emptiness. Yet therein something moves, following its own course. Therein something moves naturally, not on time. Nature's just moving, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's powerful stuff here, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you get away from yourself, get out of your body, you turn into no thing, no mind, then that's when you're able to be free. I know, even in just creating things, and I know a lot of creators and artists can definitely relate, is, you know, when you get into that that space, you know, you get into that zone, you know, nothing else matters. I know a lot of times even when I'm creating, and if I'm in the zone, I'll stay up. I won't eat, and I will keep going until, you know, I feel like, okay, this is it. But when I'm sort of dialed in, you know, it's just one of those are some of the most freeing moments. Even when I'm, you know, doing jiu-jitsu, if I'm wrestling, I'm thinking about nothing else. You know, I'm just enjoying, you know, how my body moves. I'm enjoying connecting with others. I'm enjoying the struggle. I don't even care if I win or lose. I just enjoy being in that process of becoming, and that's something that
the process of becoming.
Yeah, that's something that's been driving me right now, is figuring out. There's something that, and you know, that was a great poem. There's something that I've listened to recently, even from Jim Rohn, great speaker, and he talked about, you know, just nature and trees, and he's like, you know, everything in nature expresses to its fullest. No, doesn't worry about the time, doesn't worry about what commitments it has. It just expresses to however full it can. A tree will grow however long, however tall it will grow.
And aren't we that?
Yeah, well, we could be that. And he said the difference between us and nature is that we have free will. We have a choice. And a lot of times we make choices because of such and such. I know everybody's different, but sometimes we could be our own worst enemy and keep us from really expressing to our fullest.
I'm a witness of that.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle for me.
Hey, preaching to the choir, me too.
I try to keep the most positive of mind and keep continuing to have conversations like this in the open, and so that people can listen and hear this and see this, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it needs to be heard.
Oh yeah.
But I am a witness of that, and it worries me a little bit. So I'm just trying to be the best man standing I possibly can be and share that with people.
Yeah.
And I see you, man.
Yeah.
I see you doing the same thing.
Yeah. And like I said, and it took years to sort of figure that out. It's one of those where people can only, you know, resonate and be aware of certain things when they're at a certain perception for it. You know, that book has been around for years.
Yeah, it has. I didn't finish the poem too.
What was, you know what? And then now we go back to time. We go back to connecting certain things. What were all the little connecting points for Dave to get that book? Totally. For Dave to give you that book and for you to read it.
Yeah. Well, it was a conversation that I was having with him down by the beach. We're walking up Wisconsin Street right here from Oceanside Beach right here. And I was talking to him about a conversation I had with you. And I haven't even gotten to the point that made him think about this book. So I'll just continue to read the next part. So we left off at nature following its own course, right? The eye sees it, but no hands can take a hold of it. The moon in the stream. Clouds and mists, they are mid-air transformations. Above the eternally shine the sun and the moon. Victory is for the one, even before the combat, who has no thought of himself, abiding in the no-mindness of great origin.
Yep. I know what he's talking about on that one.
And you and I, the reason that this came up was that kind of the last statement that made you laugh. And so talking about connectedness, you were wondering what made Dave bring this here was you actually isn't that right, Dave? We were down by the beach. And I was telling him that you were in an elemental part of your training program with your students in martial arts, where you were teaching them how to not think.
Yeah.
Do you remember this discussion we're having here?
Yeah.
So you spent a lot of time going through technique and thinking about how to move and counters and positioning and clear and concise like technique.
Yeah.
And then there becomes a point in the flow where you just start to roll.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are there, but that's something I had said before I wanted to talk about a little more, and we're touching on it, I think, at every little piece of this conversation. That was probably super boring for me to read this, and I've never done that on a podcast, but whatever.
No, I'm sure someone enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so the idea is that this kind of connection between principles and humanity and nature is something I think we've deviated from a little bit, a lot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd have a hell of a lot more respect for Mother Nature, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think our biggest, our one of our greatest illusions is feeling like the Earth is just here for us. This Earth has been here way before we even arrived, and will be here when we're gone. This planet, the whole planet is alive, and we have to, we have to respect it. We have to, it's given us, resources, a place to live. It's fed us, nurtured us, and this is one of those where we can't keep stripping her of our resources, and sooner or later she's gonna bite back. And
we're delusional if we think that it's gonna what's been given is gonna keep on giving.
Oh yeah,
delusional.
Yep.
We're trying to work on science to create things that Mother Nature can only create.
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yep, we're in a and not to say we're definitely feeling like we're trying to evolve, but sometimes we have to look back and say, okay, we already have the answer. I think a lot of times, I've heard something from a book, to paraphrase a Hopi elder, and he said that we try to replicate things in technology that we already knew for ourselves, that was in ourselves. So
what's an example of that?
Even the internet, being able to connect information, being able to connect ideals, content, data. We already have that within ourselves, and you see it in all kinds of various concepts. When you talk about quantum entanglement, when you talk about morphic fields, you talk about energy. People say, "Hey, look, I can tell, you've got good vibes," or "I can tell such and such about you." That's just probably a inkling of what we're capable of doing if we start practicing and learning how to access certain states and certain things in ourselves. That is something that intrigues me very. That's something I'm always studying on. That's something that intrigues me, is figuring out those things that we've forgotten, that we already knew thousands of years ago. We already knew it. But I think now we're trying to rediscover that. We might be rediscovering it through a different aspect, maybe the wrong way, but it's there.
I hear in the same principle that we've been trained to do something, generationally speaking, how to be efficient, how to build things, how to mechanize things, how to almost mechanize thoughts and ideas through the internet, through data, through development, now apps. That's mechanizing things in my, tiny vocabulary. That's what I'm going to use. But it's bizarre if you really think about it, because taking something so natural as the human mind and body, right? And giving so much structure and material to it. Yet I believe that the essence and the biological essence of humans is from the earth, from Mother Nature, as we were created. And here we are mechanizing the crust of the earth, creating this craziness, the internet, for example. And it's an interesting place to be. And we're born into it. We don't choose it. We're born into it. We're taught it. It is who we are. It is space and time for us right now. We're living it. No one's taught us how to untrain ourselves in that way, because how rapid technology grows and the evolution of things, and it's bright and it's all consuming, and it's firing our minds and our bodies on all cylinders in this crazy way. Yeah. So that we need it. Our brain feeds on it. It's like fast food. I could parallel it to that. Yeah. We need it. The more of it we eat, the more we have to have, because it's filled with sugar and all the stuff that our body, doesn't need but wants as soon as it gets a taste of it. That's why we have to have it, quote unquote. That's why we have to have our phone. That's why we have to have our email and our internet and being able to be connected virtually. Yeah. It's where we are in space and time, unfortunately, now. Not unfortunately. I mean, there's some definite benefits to it. But we haven't been taught how to untrain ourselves. Yeah. And I think that's what you're touching on a little bit, is how to get back to being connected to the cosmos or the earth and the spirit of what exists for us. Yeah. And I'm working on that right now. It sounds like you're very interested in working on something like that as well. Yeah. And it intrigues me to the max right now. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's actually, that's something that I've talked to my class about a lot of times, is getting to where, and personally, like I said, it's something that I'm trying to practice too, that, Bruce Lee talks about being able to absorb various styles, being able to absorb all the content, everything that you can. And then you'll get to a point to where then you start to deconstruct yourself, to where you start stripping down everything to its core essence. When you could do that, that's when you start to find enlightenment. That's when you start to find true freedom, because now you're at your maximum, going back, you're at your maximum efficiency. And that's something that I try to really practice in our class, is figuring out, even when I take a shot, or if I make a certain move, or any kind of fakes or any kind of setups, I tell them, I want you to be we're learning to be as efficient as possible, learning how to be efficient with your energy, learning how to be efficient with your movements. Now it's like, now I told them, now at the same time too, right now, I want you to learn everything you can. Mm-hmm. Hey, go to another gym. Learn. I want you to learn from others. Learn, taller, shorter, bigger, lighter. And then you'll get to where then you'll start to deconstruct. You'll start to let go of the things that you don't need. You've got it. You know it. But then you'll get to a point to where you don't need it anymore. I can know certain things. It'll get to the point to where that knowledge that I may feel like, I need this right now, that may be the hindrance that I need to let go of to sort of get to that next level. It's a constant training of the mind. Yeah. I don't want to call it a battle, but it's thought management. Yeah. In the moment, because oftentimes when you overthink it, like when you're teaching your students the role and kind of escape the thought, because now you're at a skills level. Yeah. You're at a technique level where just feel it, go with it. Go with the flow. Yep. You know what to do. You know the technique, right? Now learn yourself. Be one with who you're rolling with. Yeah. And we got to do that with ourselves and life and every challenge we face every single day. It presents a challenge to us that's bizarre, and sometimes maybe it's too easy, so we're going to take that route. But the tough route is the one that we want to take. So now we got this challenge. We got to roll with it. Which decision do you make? Yeah. It's tough. We're always in our heads about that. Oh, yeah. Do you think that it's possible to get to, what Bruce Lee, gosh, And I have to imagine that this book by Bruce Lee, in the end of a career that was all about movie time, was all about the blockbuster movie time. Blockbuster may be off reference for the time, but what I want to say is the big time movies and the money and everything, but yet he's still thinking like this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those where I think everybody has that space. It's just what do you value? He was probably more of a philosopher. Well, he
Clearly.
I mean, he loved that just as much as the art of combat.
Right.
That's something that I see in myself, is that, I love creativity. I love art. I love design. But just as much, I love. I would say that I am a seeker of inner wisdom. I love getting deeper to sort of know who I am, really know who you are, and figuring out how do I bring that back out. I love kids, and it's one of those.
Your father.
Yeah, I've got 2 sons, got 4 grandkids.
Dang.
And it's one of those to where even seeing those kids, grow up, I sort of see, even when they're at 2 or 3 years old and they're sitting there running around smiling, they're in that internal, that present now. They don't care about anything else. They are in full joy. I think in glimpses, things happen when we grow up, but I think sometimes we get those little spurts, those little moments when we're in that full joy. We're outside of time. We're in a whole nother dimension, a whole nother experience, because we're in full expression. We're in full joy. We're in full happiness. We're in full peace of just right now.
Yeah.
Don't care what happens in the next 30 minutes. And I think sometimes things happen, obviously, yes, we have commitments. But I think too, we can always, and I think what Bruce Lee did perfectly is that we always can find those little pockets of space to be able to, get back into, who are, maybe our inner child, maybe who we used to be before, the world sort of beat us up a little bit.
Yeah. I think about this all the time, man.
Yeah. So
usually at the end of the day when I'm beat down.
Yeah, no,
to your point.
Yeah,
right?
it's one of those where I constantly have to tell myself, it's one of those where it's like, look, it is a practice. I meditate in the morning. I do my prayers. I journal. I do a lot of self-reflection. Figuring out, how I could respond better to certain situations. What is heck. I almost play little games. What is my future self? What are they saying right now? What are the lessons right now that I need to know to prepare me for the next something that may happen in the next 5 years? Yeah. If I don't respond to this now, what we talked about, I may hit another reality loop. I may go back into the same situation until I learn how to be more aware, how to find the how to resolve it, how to be more aware of it. Now I can go up to the next level.
What do you think drives that interest to be prepared that way or capable for the next cycle, if you will? What do you think, not just for you?
There's something more. There's something, beyond what we see right now. Is something beyond time. Is something that I've always sort of felt like driven and compelled to feel like there's something more for me to reach out and learn more wisdom that I can find, something that I can implement within myself so that I can share it with others. And that's something that I told my wife, that's something that I wanted to do with the book, that I wanted it to be almost a culmination of a lot of learnings and things that and probably hinting at some things that maybe we know for ourselves, and maybe we just have to hear it in certain stories to sort of be like, I know that to be true. I know that is so. And so it's just one of that's what sort of drives me right now. That's what's compelling me, that I always know that there's something greater. That what I mean, like I said, we're on the edge of, something more mysterious, something that I think sooner or later, I think it will reveal itself to us.
I'm going to take a guess. I think that the reason why is because the essence of who you are is a connector, like you were saying. You want to gather the wisdom. You're on a journey to gather wisdom, but imagine, hypothetically speaking, you had all this wisdom and nothing to share it, no one to share it with.
Yeah. And it goes with the concept that, and matter of fact, I think Bruce Lee may talk about it in that book. And there's other concepts too, but it's
teaching.
Yeah, it's the teacher student, having a student's mind, being in the capacity to where you learn to a certain point where you become a teacher. Now you have to give that to somebody else. And I think now it's sort of been cut off now. We used to have our grandparents, we used to have those elders, we used to have all those people that we would get our knowledge, our wisdom from, and we were able to pass that down to our children. And now it's been cut off. Now television is our parents. Social media is our parents. Yeah.
As our point of reference for learning.
Yeah, that's our guiding mechanism right now for who we need to be as a person, and that's completely reversed from what it needs to be.
Somebody do something, please.
Yeah,
tune into this podcast and listen to Quantal. That's a start, but really, I'm gonna say I joke a little bit, but I do mean it genuinely from the heart, dude. I feel like your perspective is spot on, dude, and I want to thank you for your perspective, and thank you for coming down and talking to us, dude.
Appreciate it.
So first of all, Quantal Langford, where can we find you? The Creative Brew on basically every social media platform. Quantal Langford, right, on Instagram.
Yeah. Matter of fact, because I think there is another Creative Brew on Instagram, Facebook. Look for the Creative Brew TV.
Okay.
And then at Quantal Langford, you can find me on Instagram there. And then obviously my design company, the Langford Studio, and my clothing brand. Just Hard Apparel, or if you want to check out a lot of my artwork for my book I'm working on, you can go to @Seed Book Series. You can find that on Facebook and Instagram.
@Seed Book Series.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Very cool. And what do you got going on? What's the hype right now for you in space and time, if you will?
Around this time, I tend to get heavy with some client work. So working on some client work through the design company. Then doing some other little partnerships with some people like the
female martial arts group.
No, well that's for my clothing brand. Definitely working on some got some merch designs that I've created for them, and got that up on the online store, and starting to promote that, and just promoting female empowerment, girl power.
Love it.
And that, working on the book,
which I saw a glimpse of the book the other day, and it blew my mind how environmentally driven the core principles of environmental preservation behind the book. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of the characters, a lot of the things, concepts in the book. It's going to have a lot of environmental, spiritual undertones to it. Nature versus technology, and sort of remembering who we really are, how powerful we really could become. And still talking about cycles. It's one of those where some of the characters are, trying to redeem past mistakes. I won't give out the ages on some of the characters because time is irrelevant.
I see.
And in this book, we got some old people, very old beings.
Very cool.
That's been on this planet, and they're trying to redeem some mistakes, and they see this new wave of humanity. Now they're, you got the teacher student model. You got people trying to wake up to, to who they are, it's a lot of different concepts in it. I've been making my wife read the pages. So I've been doing some re-editing on some pages. I'm about 100 plus pages in. So still,
and it's a graphic novel.
Yeah. So it'll be a mix. I'll have some comic book pages, some illustrations, and then I'll have some long form written material in there. So it'll be interesting. But it's been something that I've been developing for a few years now, and that's something that I sort of see that as one of my legacy works. That's something that I want to be able to give to others. And I told people I don't see it as, just a graphic novel. I've got some concepts in here that I'm, pretty much creating a parable, but it's something that I think once they read it and they see it, it's something that could pertain to anybody on this planet. So
I love it, man. If you ever want somebody to pre-read, I would be delighted.
All right, I'll send you some pages.
Absolutely delighted. Well, man, keep it up. Before we sign off, I'm gonna give a shout out because we've been knocking back a couple June shines. First time I drank a June shine, I was like, what is this thing? It tastes amazing.
Oh, yes.
And then I turned it around and it told me exactly what it was. Like exactly what was in it, precisely. And from an alcoholic beverage perspective, you don't have to do that. So kudos to them for throwing this out here. It tastes amazing, keeps me hydrated and gets me lit.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, it's been some of my favorite kombucha. I mean, it's like I said, real light on the sugar. They got cane sugar in there, exactly. So it's awesome.
And they keep the fridge stocked for us. So that's what's up.
I'll be coming in here every day.
Right on.
Taking some June shine.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for your perspective as always.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
With that, we'll sign off, guys. Yeww.
Appreciate it.